Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fam Sports Varsity. I'm your host, Frank Langella, joined by my co-host, Marcelio Langella. Mars, we're talking about Section 1 AA, the biggest class in Section 1. These are where the big boys come to play, and there is a lot of good talent and a lot of good coaching going on in Section 1 AA. This was a tough Frank's Finest to pick, Mars.
Yeah, I mean, these are the big-time schools, right? And you're going to see so many players on these rosters that it's going to be difficult to make a list for anything. But one thing I'll tell you, we played and we coached in this class, so we have a lot of experience looking at these teams, playing against these teams, coaching against these teams. So we have a good, understanding, awareness of these players here. But yeah, it was a tough list for sure.
Absolutely, and we want to welcome everyone for tuning into the show. Those who do not know what Frank's Finest, we select the top players returning for this upcoming March season, and we want to recognize those kids and deservingly based on their tape and based on a bunch of other factors why they were chosen. We also have kind of our memorabilia. Not the greatest memorabilia. We definitely got to fill it from somewhere. So if anyone can help us out, give more for the 1AA teams, we would definitely appreciate it. But Mars, let's dive right into it. And let's start at the quarterback spot. And for this year's Frank Finest, we're going to start with Danny Beal of John Jay East Fishkill. Again, this kid is the senior. He's honorable mention All-State in 2019. And when I spoke to Coach about him, this kid has 4.6 40 speed. He has a strong arm, and Coach says he's a big play potential waiting to happen. And when you watch this guy, again, not very tall, but he's athletic. He can maneuver in the pocket. He can hurt you with his legs. But what really stands out to me, and I haven't decided on a nickname yet for him, I don't know if it's Danny Deep Ball or Danny Downfield, because this kid has a tremendous ability to throw the ball deep and accurate. I love the way the ball just pops out of his hands. He has really good ball placement on deep throws in and out of the pocket. I do feel he is at his best when he's rolling out. When he's rolling out, that's when you see him make good throws at all three levels. I really love his deep ball no matter where he is, but that's when you start seeing that intermediate throws, especially when he rolls out. And they do a good job of getting him out on the edge so that he can use whether to hurt you throwing the ball or running the ball. Mars, he's definitely going to be this year's Frank's Finest at the quarterback spot.
I mean, you kind of mentioned a lot of things here. I mean, the first off, 1,492 yards passing, 14 touchdowns. I mean, he's slinging the rock, right? And I think the most impressive thing about him is that he has accuracy on intermediate throws, deep balls, and easily on the short route. The fact that he can hit you anywhere on the field is already deadly by itself in high school football. I mean, and I mentioned this in previous videos, it's rare to find a guy like that.
Yep.
But I think on top of that, what scares me is the fact that he runs a 4.6 40, right? And he's just pure athleticism, right? He likes to do those rollout throws, but imagine trying to scheme against a guy that can not only throw it anywhere on the field, but then can just run past you. Absolutely. I mean, that's just the scary thing to me as a defensive-minded guy. I mean, I just think he's a nightmare. But for any offensive-minded coach, he's a good nightmare.
Yeah, and I'll just say this. I saw East Fishkill throw the ball more times than since the Schumacher brothers at East Fishkill. So you got to tell that they find this kid to be a talent.
Yep.
And it definitely proved last year. Mars, I did do a breakdown on Danny Beal last year, and I want the audience to see why I think Danny is a special football player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 1, Danny Beal, quarterback of John Jay East Fishkill, located right here. And this kid, not only big football player, but he plays big in a big man sport. It's because he's a talented kid. He has a strong arm, he has mobility, and he received some All-State honors last year, honorable mention All-State. So New York State recognizes his talent. And when you think about John Jay East Fishkill, you usually think about power football, right? Big offensive linemen, great running backs over the year. You don't really think of them as a spread it out and throw them kind of team. A few years ago, I think it was 2014, when Schumacher was a quarterback, they were doing a little bit more of that spread stuff, throwing it around because he was a fine quarterback. But this kid gives them options. He has, I mentioned, a strong arm. He does really well on deep balls. I think they should start calling him Danny Downfield, because that's where it was bombs away in John Jay last year, and he connected on a lot of deep balls because he has really nice touch, and he has strong enough arm throw it over 40 yards in the air. So that's important. He also, I mentioned, I think he's deadliest on rollout throws. So we're going to go for a couple plays that show those downfield throws. Okay, the offense, like I'm going to talk about, they're going to run post wheels, okay? And we're going to focus on the far end, outside guy running post, inside guy running wheel. Again, watch the placement of the deep ball. Look at this, good base. Watch the ball shoot out of his arm. Right, that's a bomb right there. Look at the placement. That's beautiful. All right, one more time. Again. Nice drop back, solid base, and again, not a big guy, but That's a big throw. That's a big boy throw right there. Outside the numbers, great placement. It's not all about arm strength. You have to be able to place the ball deep. Okay? Again, I'm going to talk about the rollouts now. That's where I believe he's the most deadliest. The offense, what they're going to do now, he's going to roll out to his left. They're going to be running a comeback on the outside. On the inside, they're going to be running a corner route. He's going to target the corner route. Okay, again. Watch him roll out, watch him shoot his hips around, point his shoulders, and toss. Look at the placement on that. That's great. You see this often on his deep balls. Okay? Again, watch the placement. Watch him shoot his hips around. It's important when you're rolling out, you got to get your hips turned around. That's awesome. All right, Mars, going now to the skill guys. I'm going to run through the list and then we'll discuss. First, I got to start off in suffering for Clevmer Lubin. This kid was fourth-team All-State in 2019. When I spoke to Coach about him, he says he's the best athlete he's coached in over 20 years and an even better person. That is tremendous praise. And when I watch this young man, he just runs angry. He runs pissed off. And he just shows such good strength and balance running through initial contact. But what I really liked is you've seen him improve. He's been up there since his sophomore year. He didn't get that many carries that sophomore year, but that growth from sophomore to junior year, you really saw it, and it was in his patience to let plays develop. He didn't just hit the hole. He let things develop, and then he hits the hole hard. He usually makes that first defender miss, which we love as a running back. You got to be able to make that first defender miss most of the time, and this kid does that. Another thing, too, when he gets men in the backfield, he always finds a way to get positive yards or get back to the line of scrimmage, which I always love as a running back as well, Mars. I mean, this kid is just two-way, great football player, and I'll just give you that hint right now. This is probably not the last time you're going to hear his name. Moving on to the next one, Mars. I'm going to RCK, Ketchum High School. Matt Warner, he was first-team All-Poughkeepsie. This kid not very tall, 5'8", 175. When I spoke to Coach about him, classic throwback player, loves the game, and he's one of the most competitive kids with high motor. He sets the example for his teammates and young players on and off the field. And when I watch this kid, he's got good speed, he's got good instincts. He's a patient runner, and I really like that. And they run this double wing offense, and he does a really good job hiding behind those big offensive linemen, using his vision, and then hitting the hole when he sees a hole open up. And I also like his ability to be shifty in the hole. I mean, this kid, not very big, but he runs strong, and he can make you miss with a quick juke, a stutter step, whatever you want to call it, in the hole, in tight quarters. I mean, he's just a football player. And I mentioned the solid speed. Once he gets to open field, he can hit those big chunk plays with his solid speed. And I also really like his toughness. I mean, this kid gets hit hard. He's gets right back up. He'll run through contact. There's a lot to like about him that I talked about. So Matt Warner is definitely one of them. Another thing, now we go to New Rochelle, running back Colin Jennings. This kid at 5'9", about 5'9", 5'10", 170 pounds, but lightning speed, Mars. Another New Rochelle back, 4'5", 440. Didn't have a huge role offensively last year, but boy, he runs bigger than he is, and he made some big-time plays in the section championship against Carmel, Mars. He shows good pad level. He runs balance, and he's able to run through contact, which, again, you hear us repeating. Good running backs are able to do that. Run through contact, stay on their feet through contact by showing good balance and strength, and he does that. I think he's really impressive on off-tackle runs, Mars, outside runs where he can make one cut and go or get into space. Because like you mentioned, once he gets through that initial line, that's that home run speed. That's that kill you speed. That's that game-changing speed. Another impressive football player and another featured back in the New Rochelle program. Now we're going to move to wide receiver, Mars. I'm going to White Plains for Elijah Pierre, the junior. This kid is built like a college wide receiver at 6'2", 200 pounds. When I spoke to Coach about him, polite, intelligent young man. He does everything the right way, hard worker. I love the balance that this kid shows. He's got good straight line speed, Mars, good size. He also shows that he could be physical. And he's not afraid to go over the middle. He's not afraid to make contested catches, get banged, hold on to the football. And this kid is also a really solid route runner, Mars. So he can beat you with his speed, straight line speed. He can beat you with route running. He can beat you with toughness. And to cap it all off, he's also a really solid blocker. So I've seen him punish DBs. This kid could be a breakout kid this year if they can figure out the quarterback spot, since they had someone graduate last year at the quarterback spot. I'm really impressed by this prospect. Finally, to round it all off, another kid that really impressed me over at Mamaroneck, Jack Benton, the senior. This kid's another really fast kid, 4'5", 340, at 6'1", 185 pounds. So solid. I mean, he can build on his frame, solid height, solid size. And coach says this kid is Joe Cool. Nothing is too big for him. He has a confidence about him, but he sets the tempo for the team. And at times last year, due to injuries, he moved him to quarterback, even though they knew that's not something he'll play at the next level, but he did it to help the team. And I really like that, hearing from a coach. But when you watch the tape, the biggest word that screams out to me is versatility. This kid, again, he can line up out wide, he can line up in the slot, he can line up in the backfield, he can line up at quarterback. He could do a lot of different things, and it's because of that speed he has, the shiftiness he has, the good hands he has, the solid route running. This kid is just a well-rounded athlete, and this kid is a baller. He makes big-time plays in big moments. Another thing that he does, he's a really good returner, so he can make plays in special teams as well. You know I love versatility, and this kid screams it. Mars, that's the list of skill guys. Who do you want to discuss?
Well, there's three guys I want to talk about. The first one is Elijah Pierre, wide receiver from White Plains. For a guy that's 6'2", 200 pounds, he shows a lot of athleticism. I think his straight line speed is what's really scary for a guy that's his size. And on top of that, he never goes down easy. I mean, he always takes a few guys, or at least definitely a few guys to take him down. I mean, he goes through wimpy tacklers pretty easily. And on top of that, he has good route running, and I really like the way he blocks. I mean, he's a young guy, so he has room to grow.
Absolutely.
Right? That's the scary part about him. And you mentioned he could be a breakout star this year because of all this athleticism and this versatility that he brings. He doesn't always have to be in on the play itself, getting the ball, and he's still going to make plays for you by just blocking. The next one will be Colin Jennings from New Rochelle, and you mentioned it before. You know, another New Rochelle running back is a star, and it's something special that's going on with all the running back group out in New Rochelle, because ever since we were growing up, New Rochelle running backs were always key. They always got somebody there. Running a 4.5, 440. He's a speedster for sure, and he runs aggressive, so he runs through contact, and just like the old New Rochelle way, get to the outside, and he's dangerous, right? The off-tackle plays, sweep plays, it's once you break contain, goodbye, right? And he's proven that day in and day out, and he's just a competitor. He shows enough patience to make the play when he needs to, and he always finds a way to get those extra yards, right? And last one's Clevmer Lubin. He is a star, right? He is a straight-up star out of Suffering, and at the end of the day, if you look at his stats, I mean, 1,062 yards, averaging, 10 yards a carry? 14 touchdowns? Like, wow. Like, that's impressive. And he's just a beast, right? And he brings everything to the table. He's super aggressive, like you said. He's looking to hit you hard. He shows his patience as a runner. The fact that he's committed to go play at linebacker at Army is impressive, right? Big time school. I mean, Army, man. I mean, that's fantastic.
That's big time.
I think he brings in all the components of being a Frank's finest and just embodies a player.
Yeah, and I said it, and I'll say it again. It's probably not the last time you're going to hear me say about it. So before we move to the next group, I did do a breakdown going back to Jack Benton, who I really like from Mamaroneck. I did do a breakdown on him last year, and we're going to let the audience see why I think Jack is a special football player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 13, Jack Benton, wide receiver and safety for Mamaroneck High School, located right here on the screen. And this kid listed at 6'1", good height. He's long. A little bit lean. He could probably put on some pounds, muscle weight. But I tell you, three things really stand out. He's one of the most explosive kids returning in Section 1. He's athletic. He can make guys miss in open field. I mentioned he's explosive. He's got that straight line speed. And the third thing, which is probably the most impressive, versatility. This kid lined up at the wide receiver spot. He lined up in the slot. He lined up at quarterback. And he can hurt a defense in multiple ways. Okay, running deep patterns, running intermediate patterns, running jet sweeps from the wide receiver slot, wide receiver position. He also lined up at the quarterback spot and quarterback runs. He also was a really good returner. So you could tell this kid brings a lot to the table, and we're going to go over a few plays that show that. I mentioned he's out wide towards the left side. Okay, you're going to see press man right here. He's going to show the ability to get off the line of scrimmage without getting nudged out of place. And you're going to see the speed. Okay. There it is right there. Watch him get off. Look at the speed. This is a pretty good throw, but look at the concentration. I mean, he gets both feet down. Right, one more time. This is for the back pylon throw. It's a good throw. But look at him use the speed. And right at the end, you can see him just separate. That's a good job right there. Let's go to another play. Okay, this time he's located at the quarterback spot. All right. I mentioned his athleticism. So what are you going to see the offense? He's going to fake a run to the right. You're going to see linemen pull back, and it's a counter back towards this way. Okay, the versatility to line up multiple spots, to do multiple things. Okay, watch him. They're going to fake to the right. Let him come left. There's a defender at the... Look at this play right here. Defender right at the goal line. He just high hurdles him. I mean, he's clearing a man right here. He's standing up straight. One more time. I mean, it almost stops you right in your tracks. Stopped me in his tracks when I first saw it. Look at him high hurdle this guy. I mean, that's impressive. All right, Mars, let's go to the offensive line. And again, a lot of good football players. It's hard to make this list, especially the bigger divisions with more kids. But let's start at in Suffern, and that's Eric Janua. This kid at 6'2", 260 pounds. He's a wrestler. He's a football player. And when I spoke to Coach about him, and he was second team all Rockland County, in 2019. When I spoke to Coach about this young man, they say he's a great leader, hard worker with a funny character. He's strong as an ox. And really interesting, this young man started his own landscaping group, Mars. So, you're talking about a young entrepreneur here. So this kid, it just tells you the hard work and dedication that he has. And boy, when Coach says strong as an ox, when you put on the tape, that's exactly what you see. This kid is a powerful drive blocker, a powerful down blocker, and his hands are like clamps, Mars. You mentioned other videos, like a vice grip. When he gets his hands locked in you, it's hard for people to disengage him. And he really knows how to control a defender once he gets his hands locked in. One thing I really love, and I know you love, his nastiness. This guy is a nasty finisher. He's trying to bury you. He's trying to take you out. He's trying to let you know that he blocked you and he pushed you off the point of attack. But he also shows that he has some nimbleness to him, Mars. He's got good enough feet to pull and get to the second level and block at the second level. So he shows that strength he has and the nimbleness to get to the second level. This kid is an impressive football player, and he definitely deserves to be on Frank's finest. Mars, going to another offensive lineman from North Rockland, Manny Mena, the senior, second team all Rockland County. Now, this kid is not very tall, but when I spoke to Coach about him, tells me he's a tremendous kid all around. He became a leader for the team. He helps teammates fundraise when they do fundraisers. He became a U.S. citizen, that's just awesome. It's just great hearing about these stories. So he became a U.S. citizen. He wants to go to the Marine Corps. He's also a wrestler. So you hear about these linemen and wrestling, Mars. These kids know how to know about leverage, and that's what I take from his tape. Not a very tall kid, but anyone who knows anything about North Rockland football, Mars, it is ground and pound offense, and you need linemen who can move people. And this kid has that. He's a steady presence for North Rockland, and they need linemen who are going to move the line of scrimmage, turn defenders away from the targeted hole, when they run that downhill type running scheme. And this kid does that with leverage and strength. He's also a 3-year varsity player. He's been starting and playing there since his sophomore year, and this is going into his senior year. So this kid definitely deserving of Frank's finest, Mars. Let's go back to Suffern. Suffern, another young offensive lineman, John Krebs, the junior. And this kid was honorable mention all Rockland, Mars. He's moving to center from the guard spot that he was last year. 6 foot, 230 pounds. I watched him at the Armory Combine. He really showed his athleticism. So it matched what I saw on tape. But when I spoke to Coach, he says, and this is high honor, he has the potential to be their best offensive lineman. And if you look at their line, they have some good linemen over at Suffern this year. So if he has the potential to be the best one, that's pretty high honor. He does track and field. He plays both ways. When I watch this kid, Mars, he is the best trap blocker in not just Class AA. I think he's the best trap blocker in Section 1. He is a heat-seeking missile. He has really good feet. He's athletic. I mentioned about at the Combine, which helps his ability to pull and block. When he makes contact on those trap blocks, man, put on the tape. This kid absolutely crushes people, but he has that feet that he can get to the second level. It's not all trap blocking that he's good at. He can get to the second level with his athleticism. And again, not the biggest guy, but another strong kid that can hold his own with drive blocking. So I think the transition to center is going to be easy with his athleticism and strength. Is that going to take away those trap blocks that I watched? Because, man, I loved watching those trap blocks. This kid was a devastating trap blocker. So I'm interested to see what they do. But the center, him moving to center, I don't think that affects him at all because this kid has athleticism and strength. Moving now to Arlington, Mars, Tommy Gibson, the offensive tackle. This kid, 6'1", 250 pounds. Again, big kid, right? But extremely athletic for an offensive lineman. And that's what Coach reassured me as well. This kid, he's extremely athletic, good feet. And, that's what I take away watching this tape. Good feet and athleticism for a big man, which helps him block at the point of attack and at the second level. He shows strength when he down blocks too. So he gets his hands inside you. He moves people down the line of scrimmage on down blocks, but he shows his speed that he can seal the edge because of his quick step, because of those feet, and he shows the ability to block at the next level. And this kid is just a steady presence for Arlington. I think he's one of the better offensive linemen in the class. And to round it all off, Mars, we go back to New Rochelle, the big boy at tackle, Nate King, the senior. This kid's 6'3", 280 pounds, Mars. He's committed to play at St. Francis University. This kid is a powerful blocker with a strong punch. He has those heavy hands, those boxer hands, right? That haymaker that when he hits a defender, you see him get jolted back. You've talked about it in previous videos, Mars. He has that. He has those heavy hands. He's a good down blocker. He can drive block. Because he's got good feet and the strength that I mentioned, he can move the line of scrimmage. But I also see him in solid feet in pass pro too. So he's not just a big body kid. He can move and get into pass pro, which you could see why when you watch his tape, why he is a college offensive lineman. He also nimble enough to do trap blocks to get to the second level. So this kid is actually one of the more well-rounded linemen. And there is a reason he's going to play at St. Francis University, Mars. Those were the linemen, Mars. Who do you want to discuss?
So there's three of them I'll talk about. The first one, I'll just kind of round right back to Nate King. You kind of mentioned a lot of things. The fact that he is probably the most well-rounded offensive lineman of this group because he brings along with that pure power that you talked about, but he also brings the swiftness, the ability to move. And you can see exactly why he was recruited as a college offensive lineman because he carries not only the frame, 6'3", 280 pounds, being a big boy like he is, but it has the ability to move and give you a shot that you're never going to forget. New Rochelle always has those type of guys that just will be monsters of men. And that's what he is. I really like this pass pro ability, being as big as he is, because a lot of times in high school you see a big dude that just can't move, right? But he can do it both, and that's why he is very impressive. Next one, we'll go to Eric Ganua, right? Ganua. I'm sorry for misspelling.
Listen, we're terrible with names here.
I'm horrible with names here. All right. But I really like the way he plays. He's very powerful at drive blocks, as you mentioned, really good at down blocks. But I really like the way that he can get the clamps on you. I call them the vice grips. Once he gets the vice grips on you, you ain't getting off, right? And I think as an offensive lineman, once you have the hands down and you know how to use your hands, keep them on the inside, and then you show that aggressiveness, a lot of defenders don't want to deal with that, right? They don't. And that's why when you watch those type of players, you notice that they're the first ones that get the most pancakes because once a defender deals with a guy like that, they just go down. They don't want to deal with those type of players. And I really like that about Eric. And then lastly, we'll go to John Krebs. And the reason why I'm sticking with him last is because I feel like the fact that he's transitioning into center makes me feel a little bit more connected to the guy.
You're talking to a former center.
Talking to a center, if you don't know, a former center. But I like the fact that he can play in multiple spots because that's something that I can associate. The versatility. And if you look back at the tape of me in the previous videos, I feel like that was my favorite word. Was versatility. And he proves that in spades. You kind of mentioned that when he was pulling, right, being a heat-seeking missile, somebody that's going to take out whoever coach tells him to is a asset to have on an offense. And as an offensive line coach, it's something I dream about, right? It's something I love to see. And as you mentioned, the fear that he might lose some of that as a center, don't worry about it. There's a lot of ways you can incorporate. I'm just
as a fan.
I know. There's a lot of ways you can incorporate those pulls, but his other ability will make him a great center this season. And the fact that he's making this transition for coach tells me that he is a special talent right there.
Absolutely. And just diving back to the first man you mentioned, Nate King, I did do a breakdown on Nate, and we'll let the audience see why I think Nate is a special football player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 52, Nate King from New Rochelle High School, the offensive tackle located right here on your screen. And this kid is a powerful offensive lineman. I see him drive defenders 2 to 3 yards off the ball consistently when he gets his hands locked into you and his hips underneath the defender. And he also has heavy hands, which helps him deliver a powerful punch. And you see him jolt defenders off the line of scrimmage, whether it's in the run game or in pass protection. And we're going to go over a couple plays that show those traits. And the first play, we're going to talk about the power that I mentioned, how he can drive people off the ball. And Nate's located right here, like I mentioned before. And for this play, Nate and the guard are responsible for this defensive lineman and this linebacker. They're supposed to double this guy up to the backer. But the backer shoots the gap right away, which makes this guard come off this defensive lineman right away to block him. And it's going to leave a one-on-one block between Nate and this big defensive lineman. Watch how Nate gets his hips moving, his hands locked in, and drives the defensive lineman. I mean, look, watch him drive him now and finish the block. That's a lot of power right there. That's big on big blocking. Okay, again, one more time. Look at him. Just a lot of power right there. Okay, let's go to another play. All right, Nate is located right here. This time, he's going to be down blocking. All right, this guard is pulling. He's going to be down blocking right here, and this is where the heavy hands come in. Watch the jolt he gives the defender. Look at that. Just takes him right out of the play and now finishes the block. Again. You got to be able to move defensive linemen. Watch how powerful hands right here. Boom. Look at that. That's an awesome job. I'm really excited to see how this kid progresses next season. See what steps he takes to get to the next level. All right, Mars, moving now to the defense. When we talk about the defensive front seven, again, a lot of talented football players. This was a really difficult list to make. But I'm going to start at the linebacker spot. All right, now I'm going to go at Fox Lane and Luca Friedman, the outside linebacker for Fox Lane. This kid is a wrestler, Mars. But boy, I love the pop he brings when he squares up running backs. This kid is a real finisher. He does a really good job of setting the edge, using his speed and his length, but also being disciplined and taking away cutback lanes. This kid doesn't over-pursue. He just has a great nose for the football. And whether it's runs to him, runs away, this kid always finds himself by the ball. And this kid can really lay a licking on you. I really like this kid, Mars. Before I go to the others, I do want to show the breakdown I did on Luca last year and why I think this young man from Fox Lane is a special defender. For this video, we're going to talk about number 9, Luca Friedman, outside linebacker and tight end for Fox Lane High School, located right here on the screen. And I tell you, this kid is really stout against the run, both inside and outside, has decent size, decent speed. But I tell you, he is relentless. He is a really good run defender. He does a good job using his hands to fend off blockers. He's just very active. Definitely some things to work on. You know, I'd love to see him in coverage more. Really stout against the run. I didn't see much in the passing game. So that would definitely be something that I want to see. But let's go over a couple plays that impressed me. This kid's right out here. All right. And what they're going to be doing is it's going to be quarterback run. Okay, they're going to have this wing back try to block him. Again, smaller guys, he shows his strength. Bigger guys, he shows his speed. And this is one of those smaller guys. Now, I would love him to lower his pad level a little bit. Okay, don't play so high. Don't have those eyes in the backfield. But he has good feel for the game, right? Here's what I'm talking about. Look how low this guy is, right? We want to lower the pad level a bit, get the butt down a little bit, have better leverage. But he sees the quarterback. He's going to disengage using his strength and make a play. Okay, look at him disengage, and there's a big hit right there on the quarterback. Let's go back from the top. Again, watch him go. All right, steps up. Okay, use the strength, disengage, and then a big hit right there on the outside. Okay, let's go to another play. Here he is again, located right here, outside linebacker spot. And they're going to be sweep. It's going to be sweep to him. Okay, pitch sweep. Got to show the speed, and again, good running back, the ability to tackle in open space. Again, watch it. Watch the closing speed. Look at the little extra burst right there, and then makes a play in open field. Again, he has deceptive speed. Okay, you're going to see the closing speed right there. Look at him cut inside that block, and then that closing speed to make a play. All right, Mars, continuing with our list, I want to go to defensive line from RCK, Ketchum High School. Chris Vanderlind, the defensive tackle. This kid was honorable mention all Rockland County. This kid at 6'6", 270, Mars. This kid is a mountain of a man. He's a wrestler. And when I spoke to Coach about him, this kid is physically tough, good athleticism and body control. he mentioned that because he's a wrestler, he knows how to use his leverage. He also has a nasty streak to him, and all those traits you see on tape. I mean, this kid, like I mentioned, a mountain of a man. He's really hard to move off his spot with a single block. When he gets his hands inside, he can control an offensive lineman, use those long arms, those are the strength that he has. Sometimes I think he plays with linemen too much. That's how much he messes around with those guys, but he shows really good power. And I think he can work on getting a little lower. It's hard to do when you're 6'6", right? Again, big guy. But I think if he knows how to get out of his stance a little bit lower, this kid can even be more menacing than what he is. But this kid really knows how to anchor down, stop the run, and even shows some pass rushing ability using his strength mark. So this kid is a talented kid. I'm going now to Port Chester. Carlos Escobar. This kid was 4th on the team in tackles last year, the senior coming back. Coach says he's one of the studs of the team and he deserves to be recognized. Well, Coach, he's being recognized. I just think he's a disruptive defensive tackle. Although he's not the biggest guy, he wins with high effort and hands. And, that's all you can ask. He's got a really nice motor. He uses his hands to disengage blockers. He's just a disruptive guy. He came up as a sophomore, Mars, and he's been playing defensive line since, and he's been really productive, and he deserves to be recognized on this list. Moving on, Mars, to linebacker. We go to North Rockland. Tron Carswell, the senior, second team All-Rockland. This kid at 6'3", 210 pounds. He's got good size for a linebacker. When I spoke to Coach, he's improved every year that he's been on the varsity. His father actually was a standout at North Rockland and played at Rutgers, which is an interesting fact. And when I watch this kid, he has really good length. When he's decisive, when he knows where he's going with the ball, I really like the way he attacks the line of scrimmage because he's a very solid finisher in the run game. I also see him do really well in open field tackling. I mean, I saw this kid against New Rochelle. They were running a screen. He did a really good job of weaving through the offensive lineman and finishing the tackle. So you see a bunch of plays like that. He is that prototypical Mike linebacker, but he shows the athleticism and the length that he can play in space some. And I think that's a really impressive feat for this kid and deserves to be on the list. Moving now to Arlington, Mars, one of my favorite linebackers, Richie Finn, 5'10", 190 pounds. When I spoke to Coach about him, he is the team leader on and off the field. He says possibly the highest character player he's ever coached. That's high honors for coming from a coach. He's extremely hardworking, and for me, I love his range. His range is what I really like about him, and I also like the way he reads offenses. He reads a flow read to a lineman, and he reads it quickly, decisively, very few wasted steps. And to me, that's really important for a linebacker. He really knows how to use his speed and take proper angles to avoid getting blockers. Again, not the biggest guy, but what he wins with is he's decisive. He uses his speed. He uses his shiftness to get away from linemen, and he makes a bunch of plays. And he also shows, he shows the ability to disengage in tight quarters because you can't always use your speed to get by linemen. Right? At some point, they're just going to run right at you. And what do? How do you avoid the blocker? He does a good job of being shifty and getting around blockers to get to the hole and make a play. And I really like this kid. Moving to another linebacker, Martin Scarsdale, Julian Glantz, the junior. This kid could be the breakout player this year for the young guys. I mentioned the junior at 6 foot, 185 pounds. I really like his range. He's got good range. He has the speed and athleticism to drop into coverage, and that's an underrated thing. There's a 3-down linebacker that can go into coverage, stop the run. He's another good finisher. He also shows the quickness and the lateral quickness and the shiftiness to avoid those blockers, similar to Richie in tight quarters, but he is built a little bit taller. Definitely has some room for improvement, but I think this kid has high potential at the linebacker spot, Mars. And to round it all off, we can't have a list on defense without Clevmer Lubin from Suffern. This kid committed to Army like you talked about previously, and at 6'3", good height, good length. He just has a good mix of length and speed. He is a raw pass rusher, but he wins with explosiveness. He wins with his hands. Definitely things you can mold, but boy, there is a lot there to like. And in the run game, Mars, he's a menace. He uses his length, his speed. He's a relentless player. He's someone who'll chase plays backside. He'll make plays backside. He, in the run game, is a terror for teams in 1AA. Pass rush, he brings a lot to the table too, but he's just a really well-rounded defender, Mars. He's probably one of the best players in Section 1. That was the list I rounded off. Mars, who do you want to talk about?
Well, there's three guys I'll key in on here. First one's going to be Luca Friedman. And out of Fox Lane, you mentioned him right in the very beginning. I think he is a pure athlete. I like his discipline the most. He does a very good job of setting edge. A lot of times when people are out on the edge, they kind of become their own. They're very rusty. They become their own. They do what they want to do, right? Yeah. And when you find a guy who's disciplined, who's not only going to set the edge on stopping anything going outside of him, but also stops any cutback lane, is really what's impressive about him. And I really like to see that in any of my edge rushers. The next one's going to be Carlos Escobar. One word you hear about him is just being disruptive, right? The word disruptive is the key thing you have to understand about this man. The fact is he's growing up. He came in as a sophomore and getting better and better as years progress. And the fact that he's a big dude and knows how to use his hands is already a thing that a lot of players don't have, right? You know, we can look at the whole section AA and say who's the best at using your hands at their size, and Escobar is up there, right? And that's why he's on Frank's finest list for that. And honestly, you can't have a list without Clevmer Lubin, right? He is an animal. And I keep saying that because he is, right? Committed to go to Army to play linebacker, and he is the most well-rounded, versatile player you can see, right? Especially on defense, right? And the fact is, he brings the power, he brings the speed, and I like his relentlessness the most. Right? When the fact that he'll always find the ball on a run play is what's scary. And you kind of mention him as a terror. You can try to run away from him, but he's going to find a way. He'll find a way to get to that ball. And I think that's having that sideline speed, the ability to catch a play from the backside is what's really impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing him tear up the league this year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you ended that way because I did do an interview with Clevmer, and we'll let the audience get a little taste of Clevmer Lubin. Joining us now, he is the running back, defensive end, and linebacker from Suffern High School. I want to welcome to the show, Clevmer Lubin. How are you, Clev?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And listen, I know football's weird starting in March. It's usually a fall sport. I know all the sports are being crammed in together, and we really appreciate you coming on to talk some football. But I've asked everybody who I've spoken to so far doing the show, why do you play football? What makes football important to you?
It's one of the phrases one of our coaches used to use. It's legal violence. You got to go out there, just out muscle another man, use more force against them, and just the family aspect of it all. It's a big group. You guys got to work harder than every other sport because it's so more demanding than a lot of other sports are, just in the physical aspects of it all.
Yeah. And, you've obviously you're a very talented football player. You committed to play at Army West Point. And it's a great accomplishment. Not many Suffern football players get to go to Army to play football, and Coach raves about you. But I heard some of your backstory, and I'm interested to get your take on your story. You know, you come from an immigrant family from Haiti, correct?
Yeah.
And you're going to be the first male in your family to go to college?
My sister goes to college right now. She goes to Buffalo, but I'm the first of us boys to go.
That's awesome. And I just wanted to ask you, who or what motivates you to be the type of person and player that you've grown to be today? Is there somebody or is there something that motivates you, that drives you to be the person that you are?
My mom and my oldest brother. My mom's always been hard on me, like just making sure my grades always good for school because she knew how important it was. An opportunity like West Point doesn't really come unless you really have the grades as well as the ability to play sports. So my mom's always been hard on me for that. And my oldest brother, because like everything I've ever seen him done, he's done it at 100%. Like he's always attacked everything head first, and he's always like that person in my ear telling me what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. No, that's great. And when I speak to players of your caliber and the other great players, there's no perfect prospect, and there's always something to improve on. Can you share with us what you've worked on in this off season to improve as a football player and as a leader for this upcoming season?
Trying to get stronger. You're always trying to get stronger before every season. Really wanted to improve on my speed this off season. I got the opportunity to do that. Really showcase that I'm faster than a lot of people think. During the combine, the New York State 150 combine.
Combine, yep.
Yeah, so I was able to showcase that I've improved in that aspect of playing football. But for me, there's a lot of things to grow on, a lot of things to improve on, and I know for the next level, it's not going to get any easier. So I'm prepared for that part.
That's great. I not only just like talking football, I like talking outside of football. So is there a passion that you have? Is there something you like to do outside of the football field or outside of the basketball court that you could share with us?
Not really. Usually, I just listen to music, play video games, homework. Same old high school life. I got a job. I work at Walmart, so I do so now since that sports are starting, I only do that on the weekends. A little thing I do on the side. So just keep myself busy.
Have you decided what you want to study at Army?
Yeah, business.
That's cool. And I not just like having these one-on-one conversations, but I also like bringing up some football tape and some ball with everybody that I go on with. So I definitely want to. I'm going to bring up some football, and I just want to kind of go over with you a couple of clips. Can you see the tape?
Yeah, I see it.
Perfect. And if you see any delays or anything like that, it's hard to see. Let me know. Let me just hide this. All right. Now, this first, you are committed to go play at the kind of the linebacker position at Army,
Yes.
but you're a two-way player for Suffern. And I just want to start off before we go to defense, which is what you're going to be playing at the next level. I want to start on offense. And when I watch you play, do you remember? I mean, you have a bunch of plays. I'm just going to let this one play and then kind of remind you of this play. This is against Mayapack, right? And it doesn't feel like a huge grain-breaking play, but there's you breaking a tackle, breaking another tackle, and getting about 10 yards, right? And you're in 10 personnel. Ace gun is what I used to call it. You guys run a power play to the left with this trap block that you see from the guard. Can you inform us on, what are you reading a certain block? Are you reading a space? Are you attacking a certain hole? Do you remember what the play call is? Can you kind of give us a little insight on what's going on in this play?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this play was power. This is our money play. Most of our guards are really quick getting off the line, in that kickoff block for us. Yeah. So what's it called? Whenever he kicks, I'm just always trying to go on his inside. And my line, the left side of the line, does a great job kicking down. It's creating that big gap for me. So it's just my responsibility to read inside the pulling guard and then the inside of my tackle.
Yeah. Now this is something right? So your tackle's doubling it up to the linebacker, but the linebacker reads this pretty quick and he jumps into the hole. So as a good running back, you have to be able to make that first defender miss most of the time if you're a really good running back. So you have a linebacker right here in the hole. You're going right at him, but then, you just make him miss just like that. Nice little quick juke. Where do you get your balance? Where do you get your strength from when you run? Because when you run pissed off. It looks like you just run pissed. So do you work on your balance? Do you do any drills or anything like that to help your balance and your ability to run through contact?
Every now and then our coach makes sure that we go through it during practice. Coach Lane is a bit different when it comes to running back drills, but most of it is because personally I've always ran like this. And even though I've told all my teammates this, I just don't like to get back up off the ground. I'm 6'3", I'm a tall figure. Getting back up, you know what they say. The taller they are, the harder they fall. But for me, it's me getting back up is so much extra activity. I just don't like getting brought down.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and it's interesting you say that because this kind of clip personifies this next play. Personifies what you just said about you hate going down because. This looks like it's going to be a disaster. This is 5 yards into the backfield, but yet I'm just seeing bodies falling off you, and then you get back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable right there. I mean, looking at the back view, this is a similar power play that we talked about on the previous one, right?
Yeah.
Right? But they come out with a different front. They come out with the 3 down linemen are on both guards and the center. So yeah. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different read, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little insight on what's different about this one? Is there a different read that you have, or you're still following that pulling guard and pretty much going off his block.
I'm still following the guard, because everyone's just gonna kick down, and I'm still gonna trail off his butt. So I give him time to get there before me and get that space. But the differences between most teams and when we played North Rockland, they had 5 down linemen, and they only played two linebackers, because most teams know we're a run heavy team, so they try to pack the box. So I was just reading my linemen and trying to make the best play that I could out of a bad situation.
Now your linemen, you have a very good offensive line. You had a good offensive line last year. This is probably not their best rep, and I think they would agree with it, because when you get this ball, there's not supposed to be an unblocked guy 5 yards in the backfield.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously there's something happened. But this is what I love about the way you run, being pissed off, or like you say, hate going down because you don't want to get back up.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 5 yards in the backfield, and yet here's your strength. I mean, it feels like you're playing guys, when you're on a varsity level and you're playing JV guys, sometimes some varsity guys have the JV practice with them. That's what it looked like out there. So, I mean, that's some good stuff right here.
Appreciate it.
But I do want to go to the defensive side. And, you're playing that linebacker spot now. Suffering had you as an edge defender, so sometimes you'll be standing right, sometimes you'll be in the stance.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to go over, what you are as a player. In this one, you're at the left defensive end spot. This is against Mayapack. They're going to run sweep towards you, so I'll let the play go down. They'll run sweep towards you. I mean, this was just a really nice play. Look at you get out there. You finish the play. Question I have for you is, as that defensive end spot and you're attacking, what are your reads? Who are you reading on this play? Are you reading the tackle? Are you looking into the backfield? Is it a combination of things? Kind of give us a little insight on when you're at the left defensive end spot. What are you looking at?
For a majority of the part, when you're playing defense, that guard and tackle position always brings to where the play is. So my responsibility is always just to keep everyone inside of me and don't let anybody get out. So no matter what the play is, no matter what the tackle does, if he runs away from me, I know it's coming back to me, or vice versa. If he leaves me alone, I know it's going opposite, but I still got to stay reversal no matter what the situation is. So in this specific situation, I see him down blocking me, so I just have to keep leverage on the outside and let my linebacker fill.
That's great. And you always protect that outside, right? And then you look at you use the speed out there and you finish it off. That's good stuff. Another one, I mean, teams at some point were trying to run sweep T, and then most of them decided, let's just run away from them. But this is against North Rockland. They're going to try to run a sweep with you on this side. Last play, they tried to have the tackle and guard combo block you. This time, they're going to send about 3 people to block you, right? They have a tight end over there. They got the tackle. They're going to have some guy come over here and chip you. I mean, that was like 3 people. And look at you come over there. You split the double team and you finish the play. Similar thing. Now, when you have a tight end now outside of you, is the read changing? Are you still looking at the guard tackle, or now that there's a tight end, there's a running back in your view, that fullback that's, kind of right in your rearview mirror? What is the read now when you have somebody outside of the tackle?
At this point, it's all about communication. So my safety's out of the screen right now, but he's making that read. That's his player, and I'm trying to get a punch into him, take him out of his path, but I'm still focused on the man right in front of me on my right, because that's the lane closest to the ball. So I'm just trying to manhandle as many people as I can, disrupt the play in whichever way they're running. I'll free up more players to come in and make a play. As you've seen, my safety came in, he cut off the sweep, and then I was able to stop it right there because he had no back way to go.
That's good, and that's just team defense right there. I like how you described it. It's great stuff, man. At the linebacker spot, they're going to have you not just stopping the run, but you're also going to be dropping into coverage, and you're also going to be rushing the passer, right? So you definitely did you rushed the passer well last year. This is you against Mayapack again. I'm going to let this one run, and then we'll go back to it. But it looks like you guys do a nice little twist on right there. And I always like the motor right here. Look at you running across the field, forcing the turnover. I mean, that's great. Do you guys run twists? I'm sorry?
They didn't give us that fumble, sadly.
I know. It looked like a good fumble right there. But this looks like a little twist on where you're going to take a couple steps in and then weave inside. They're running away from you. They want They want to get as far away from you as possible. Mm-hmm. But I love the motor here. What is kind of your what are you thinking when it's passing downs? Do you have a different mindset? Do you have a way that you want to attack the quarterback or attack a lineman when it's in pass rushing situations?
Always depends on like the play call. Depends how aggressive coach wants us to be. In this position, I'm kind of in an okie, so they don't know if I'll attack, because usually I'm in a 3-point stance.
Yeah.
Really, it's either I blitz or I'll sit back and cover the flat like coach wants me to. But in this situation, he sent me, so and he called a cross, so that's what we did. And for me, I just got to run down the line of scrimmage, because if anything crosses, it's still my responsibility, and the guard that me and him switched with, that's his responsibility as well. So I'm just running down the line of scrimmage, and if anything reversals, then it's still me and his job.
That's great. I mean, one more clip, Clev. Again, pass rushing situation against North Rockland. There's you. Now you're in a 3-point stance, so there's not really any debate on what's going to happen. You're coming, right? Mm-hmm. So you're coming out, right? Tackle actually does a pretty good job not letting you beat him off the edge. But again, the motor, the desire to get to the quarterback. Whenever I talk to, people at the next level, great pass rushers always have a plan, right? And I see you win on your length and athleticism. And that's why I want to kind of dive into what is your plan when you're attacking? Do you have a go-to move? Do you have a backup plan? Is there a certain way that you want to attack a lineman based on how he gets out of his stance?
With everyone is different. With this matchup, I definitely knew most of my matchups I definitely feel quicker. So I knew if I slowly went into it and then gave him a step, and I what's it called? I hit him with a jab right in his shoulder, right in his chest, and got him out the way, and it gave me a direct line into the quarterback. You see how I go wide, because I never want to give that quarterback the opportunity to scramble. So we just keep the pocket, and as soon as I'm level with him, I just want to get him out the way and then finish the job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's great stuff. And I tell you, the more you can do, and you talked about, we didn't see a tape on it, is you going into coverage. Now, I got to ask, do they play, do you guys do man or zone in basketball, or do you guys mix it up?
We're mostly man defense, only play zones against certain teams, when it's necessary, but we pride ourselves in playing one-on-one defense.
And that's what I'm going to ask you. Can you play man? Are we going to see some man out of you this upcoming football season against some of these tight ends and running backs?
We'll just see what happens, man. It's in our section. Most teams are run heavy, so we just gotta see what they throw at us. But I know we'll be ready.
No, that's great. And again, congratulations on being one of Frank's finest. Before we end our interview, I wanted to give you an opportunity. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Anyone you want to recognize before we finish the interview?
Just thanks to Coach OLine and all my coaches. Putting mad time on the field, just trying to make us better. And I know we're going to finish the season real strong. So thanks to them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Clevmer Lubin of Suffern High School. We want to thank him again for joining the show.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, Mars. Now we are going to the secondary and the kicker. And I'll start off in John J. East Fishkill. Mason Payton, another junior, and this kid, an impressive prospect at 6'3", 180 pounds. This kid actually might even grow out of the defensive back spot. They might move him to linebacker, I'm not sure, because this feels like this kid's growing by the second. But at 6'3", 180 pounds, really good size. And when I spoke to Coach about him, he's got a great mix of size and athleticism, a really coachable kid with high resilience. And when I watch him, this kid had one interception and multiple pass deflections. I think I saw like 4 or 5 of them. But I mentioned he may grow out because of his size and length out of the DB spot, but just looking at him as a corner, he has really raw technique as a sophomore, but he is such a smooth athlete. Again, mentioned that length, the size. He plays the run extremely well. He's not afraid of the run game. He's a good open field tackler, and he just made some really nice plays. He knows how to break on the ball. I mean, I mentioned he can improve, definitely backpedaling, using his leverage better, but this kid just naturally is a good cover guy. And I think he can only get better. And the sky's kind of the limit for this guy, given his length and size, if he stays at corner. And even if they move him, I think he'll be productive at no matter what he does. But looking at the corner spot, this kid's definitely impressive. Another kid that has a potential could blow up this year as a standout football player in 1AA, and he deserves to be on this list. Moving now to Yonkers Brave, Mars. Joshua Williams, the defensive back, the senior. When I spoke to Coach about him, he's a high-character player, hard worker, leads by example. And when I watch him on tape, he is arguably the best run-defending corner among the group in 1AA. He's not afraid to bang around. I think he does a really solid job of tackling an open field. Again, another kid with raw tools defending the pass. But I tell you, he's got fluid hips. He can change directions quickly, and he gets in good position most of the time. It's just, putting it all together consistently. But I love the way this kid goes up against the run. He sometimes you get corners who don't want to get involved in the run game. If there's an exact opposite, it's Joshua Williams. I really like that he puts his nose in there, and I think this kid is deserving to be on this list. Moving now to New Rochelle, Mars. Caden Smith, the safety. This kid at 6'2", 170 pounds. This kid had 4 interceptions, 10 pass deflections. And I tell you, this, when you watch the tape, he really has a nose for the football. He's good at anticipating routes. He can, play against the quicker slots, the shiftier wide receivers in the slot. He can also go up against bigger receivers because of the size that I mentioned that he has. He can play. I also really like his versatility as a safety. He can play in the box, which is what he did most of the time. But he can also be that single high safety if you want him, because he's a rangy guy. This kid reads routes really well. He also plays man-to-man pretty well, so that's why they can move him around. This kid, versatile safety. He just knows how to get into the receiver's body, take proper angles, and attack the football. This kid definitely has a nose for the football. Finally, to round it up, we're going to stay in New Rochelle, Mars. Gary Phillips, the senior from New Rochelle. This kid, not a very tall kid, but if you want to talk about speed, Mars, he's arguably the fastest kid on the team at a 4.47 40, Mars. Multiple pass deflections, and I watched on tape. Lightning quick, straight speed, quick, and also side-to-side quickness. I also like his versatility to line up as the outside corner and in the slot. He's probably best in the slot given his size, but he can go up against quicker receivers. He also shows the toughness that he can go bang around with bigger receivers. So let's not act like this kid can't do it. He can, but he just knows how to attack the ball. There's another kid with really fluid hips, and that speed he can make up for any. If he gets beat, he makes up with that speed. Mm-hmm. So he can definitely work on some technique, continue to grow his technique. But I really love the way he attacks the ball, takes proper angles, and he's got fluid hips that he can. He can change direction really quickly, Mars. Anybody? Yeah. Before I continue the run game, I didn't want to get this kid, although at 5'7", Mars, he'll put his nose in there and he'll make some plays in the run game too. Before I let you take the mic, I wanted to make sure I give him credit for that.
Two guys I want to key in on. First off, Mason Payton, you mentioned he is a definitely a raw talent for sure, and he has very good size for a junior, and like he can be a breakout player, like you said, and there's a chance that he could change positions. But the fact that he can do that tells you that he has this athleticism that is impressive, right? Raw technique for a young guy, and that can only get better if he stays in secondary position. He will get better at that naturally. And I think that he plays the run really well. And once he improves that technique in the secondary, he can be deadly because of his athleticism and his ability to do multiple things. And then lastly, Gary Phillips, you mentioned, I think he's the all-around, my favorite in the secondary because he can just do so much, right? His versatility is out of this world. He's lightning quick, 4.47 40. Yes. He can play on the outside and in the slot. He has the sideline-to-sideline speed. And just in case, if let's just say his technique tore down, he'll find a way to get back to the ball. Right? He has an eye for the ball, and he has a way that his technique is great to stop any sort of pass coming to him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play this year because, like I said, you want to put Frank's finest. He's one of Mars's favorites. I can't try to think of another M word.
Can't think of a way to get
trying to put that in there, but he's definitely one of my favorites in the secondary.
And mentioning Gary Phillips, I did do a breakdown on this young man from New Rochelle last year, and we'll let the audience see why I think Gary is a special football player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 4, Gary Phillips III, cornerback and running back of New Rochelle High School, located right here on the screen. This kid, not a very tall kid, right? 5'7", 5'8", 155 pounds, but has elite speed. He's one of those kids that run a sub 4.5, and he shows good versatility. He played on the outside. He played in the slot. And I really love his ability to break out of his stance, great closing speed, get into wide receivers, does a good job tracking the ball. And I mentioned that speed. That speed is very dangerous. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he has that ability to bust open a play. Things to work on. I'd love to see him build up his strength. It worries me a little bit about bigger receivers, even though he is a very smooth athlete. But bigger receivers make me a little nervous. I would love to see him continue to build that strength. Let's go over a couple plays that impress me. Okay, he's in the slot right here. I just mentioned they're going to be running an out. Okay, you're going to see his ability to break on the ball, get into the hip pocket of the receiver, and make a play on the ball. Okay, watch him. He believes in his speed. He trusts his speed. Okay, he's sitting on this route. Look at this coverage right here, and the ball's already thrown. He's going to make a play on the ball, knock it away. Okay, again, right from the start. Again, trust his speed. Look at him. He's reading this route. Okay, look at that quick break. Get into the hip pocket of the receiver, and knocks it away. Okay, that was a quick out. All right, let's go to the same game. Here he's in the slot again. This time, the receiver's going to run an out and up. Okay, so they're going to try to use his aggressiveness against him. Okay, they want him to break on the out so that they can fool him going up the field. And again, you're going to see the smooth athlete that he is. He can flip his hips pretty quickly. Look at him. He breaks on the out, and look at this. Look at him turn and run. And look at this coverage right here. I mean, he's in the hip pocket of the receiver. Look at the athleticism to attack the football. That's a great job. Knocks it away. Okay, one more time. Watch him. Okay, really good speed. Breaks on the outside. Look at him flip his hips. Show that great speed. He's in the hip pocket of the receiver. Jumps and makes a play on the ball. It's good stuff. All right, Mars, finally, let's get to the kicker now. And we mentioned him before as an offensive lineman, but Tommy Gibson is going to be my kicker from Arlington. And this kid was honorable mention All-State. And Coach says, this kid has a really strong leg. He knows how to change field position consistently. And for me, when you can force a team to go the length of the field most of the time, Mars, when you can kick those touchbacks in high school, when you can pin them deep and force them to go 80 yards, 70 yards, whatever you have to do, that's a huge weapon, right? It's hard to get these long extended drives. And if you have a kicker who consistently do that for you, it's an absolute threat. I also seen him make, a 42-yard field goal in game. So, this kid has the leg to make serious plays, not just on kickoff, but in field goals, put points on the board when most teams got to punt by that situation or go for it. So this kid is the definite weapon. But I am going to give a shout out to another kicker, right? This is the first time I did it one other time, but to give a shout out to another kicker. And I think by the time the end of, April, that the season's supposed to end, this kid might solidify himself as the top kicker in the area. And that's Nick Sedano, the junior from Carmel. And if you've seen it, and I know I've seen it, his workout videos, even putting in the work, kicking in the snow, kicking in the rain, kicking in, whatever disaster that is outside that's been these last months. This kid, you see the hard work, and I think that hard work is going to translate onto the football field, and it will not surprise me. Actually, I'm kind of giving away a little bit of news right now. I think this kid, by the end of the year, may solidify himself, and he's going to compete neck and neck with the young man Tommy Gibson. But I got to go with Tommy Gibson for right now, but I respect both kickers, and Nick Sedano's a name you want to keep.
Listen, you mentioned both. These are the top two kickers in Section 1AA. Yeah. And Tommy Gibson definitely has the edge, in my opinion, just because, like you mentioned, that mix between the field goals, those deep field goals,
and more consistently
in game, and he pins them back all the time. He has that. That's a deadly weapon to have on a team, especially like you said in high school. It's very rare for a team to drive 80 yards down the field and constantly do that. I mean, that's difficult, and that's why you definitely have to give Tommy his props here.
Absolutely.
But definitely you can say Nick Sedano is definitely somebody that you
look out for.
Yeah, look out for him. I mean, he's definitely a guy, and like you said, I've seen all of his workout videos. I've seen him kick on Twitter, it's impressive. It's definitely impressive, and I'm looking forward to see this kicking showdown. They always talk about quarterback showdowns. We're talking about kicking showdowns. Baby. That's the show right there.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that this year.
Absolutely, and again, that is our list, Mars. Again, we really do appreciate all the support that we've gotten from everybody, from the community, the coaches, to the schools, to everybody, fans. And again, these kids deserve to be recognized. These are the top kids, in our opinion, from 1AA. And I'm just really excited to watch these kids compete against each other coming March. And again, Thank you guys for tuning into the show. These kids absolutely deserve the shout out and recognition that they get. And we'll see you all very soon. We got one more show left, and then we're going to be shifting gears now to the programs, and it's the Independent League. But I hope you guys enjoyed our Section 1AA Frank's Finest, and we'll see you all very soon.